that the big one? The veil or whatever it's called? Sow.
Hey, look, it's more soil. Who's driving the pig? I get a saddle for you.
They stink.
And so, but look at these animals. You see their noses? They've been working all day. Busy. Busy. While we were in there eating breakfast, these guys were turning over this field for us. Because we were going to want a garden in here, so we talked to them about it, and we said, you guys, we want to move in here and do some gardening. We want you to turn the rocks and fertilize the field, you know, and eat all the weeds and stuff. And they said, okay. It's just like that. You just have to talk this stuff through. And they're willing. They really like to work. I don't know. I don't know why everybody doesn't work with their animals like this. You know, I picked up when I got here that it's a pretty flat spot for what we got to offer, but obviously the settlers as well had chosen this land wisely. You know, it's not as steep as some of the things we have around here. Dude, check out this stone wall. I didn't build this. People come up here with shovels in the 1800s, shovels and axes, and probably not much more than that. You know, 2, 3, 4 generations ago, what have you, in 1800 odd. The people that built the red house and the barn down the way come up here with, like I said, not much more than the clothes on them and a hammer or a shovel or whatnot, hardly being able to make nails. And they built these walls and did the farming up here. So when you see that around here, it's a boy, it inspires you a lot to be hard working, because, you know, like I said, only 200 years ago, people were out here with their bare hands and did quite a bit of work. What we're trying to do, what we'll see up here, is take a hold of some of their wisdom. And so now we've come back in, and over the course of about 2 years, we got all our firewood and all our construction materials and cottage industry wood, as well as firewood and chips. Tons of chips. You see those chips over there? We have a chipper we run on vegetable oil. It's a diesel chipper, and so it's a whole tree harvest. We use every last bit of it, and the chips go into the bedding for the animals, and that's how we're building soil. We have all this forest here. This is our biomass that we can mix with the proper ingredients to build soil. And that's also, these guys are doing 2 things for us. They're prepping the land for us. You know, you see one side of the fence right here, all this vegetation, and the other side is where they are constantly working. They're either working or sleeping. That's all I've ever seen them do. So you see what they do. They're going through everything. They're eating that quack grass she's got in her mouth right there. We brought that up from the garden. You know, and you don't want to put quack grass in your compost pile. You throw it in here right with them. We've probably taken 30 to 40 truckloads, like big, large amounts of vegetation up here over the course of the year. And what they've done is transformed that into black, nutrient-rich soil. All right. You see down here, you can see in the section of the other pasture that hasn't been as intensely, we haven't added that amount of biomass to that particular area, and see it's sort of a brownish color to it versus this black looking stuff right here that's high in organic materials. We're nutrient rich here in New Hampshire in general, and so we need to up the organic matter, the percentage of organic material in the soil. And so they're helping do that. They're transforming vegetation that's a weed into something that is fertilization. And so they're pooping in here and clearing the vegetation, keeping down the trees from regrowing from their stumps. And then what we'll do is we'll take their fence, like we could take their fence right here and move this 30 feet that way. And then we can come in here and do some raking and some shaping, figure out how we want to set up our beds. You know, we don't want to set up our beds so they run down the hill and everything runs away from us. So with the contours of the land, maybe the first thing we generally do is plant potatoes. We'll put them right on the surface, and as they grow, we'll hill up around them. with loam if we can come by it, compost, with hay, and that's what builds the beds. And so at the end of the season, we will harvest our potatoes out of that, reshape the beds, plant garlic, and then go through a season of garlic. And then the following season after that, maybe late season cover crop, and then the following season, do vegetables. Any vegetable crop will do at that juncture. And then you've got gardens. And it's the real, I think the beauty of it is it's without mechanization, so to speak. You know, there is some logging and forestry involved, but the animals are doing the prep work. So you don't have to run the tractor around to fertilize. You don't have to run the tractor around to turn stuff over. We do aerate with forks, quite a bit of aeration. And these stumps don't go away overnight. You know, originally when we got into this, the whole idea was, oh, the pigs, they'll pop up the stumps and rip them up, they'll roll them down the hill into a big pile, and all you do is, end of the year, you go throw a match to it, and the job's done, you know? I mean, they would tell me, oh, you just take a big bar and get in around that stump and throw some corn in it, and stomp your foot all around it, and that's how they know which stumps to dig up and roll down the hill into the pile. But they'll just dig down there and get the corn and you know, ask for some more. Hey, why would they be stacking that? You know, it makes sense now that I think about it. They're smarter than we are, so I don't know why they would tell me that. But anyway, what will happen is those stumps will deteriorate over time. They're not going away anytime soon, but the biomass will be incorporated in the soil. Versus, what's the other option here in this day and age? People want to take an excavator, pop all the stumps, put them in a pile and burn them, so they go up into the atmosphere and add CO2. Well, the better thing I think would be to leave them where they lie and let them compost in place and add what they got to the soil. I mean, you can see the difference from one side of the electric fence to the other, the work that they do. It's really amazing, huh?
Yeah.
The difference that we have, the advantage that we have as compared to the settlers is electric fence.
Keep them in there.
Yeah,
Keep
stuff
them
really
together.
works good. Really, really good to get large areas like this enclosed. Because otherwise you would be fighting. These guys, if it wasn't electrified, it's hard to keep them out, especially him.
So if you touch that fence, it will shock you?
It's intermittent, so you can hear it behind you clicking.
Yeah. Oh.
So when it hits,
Yeah.
there's voltage through it.
Uh,
But so yeah, if you rub up against it and you're furry like them, especially on a rainy day, it'll
Yeah.
hurt.
yeah. What are they eating? Just like,
They just root, you know, they're constantly looking for, they'll eat worms or little, you know, little critters in the soil or whatnot.
Yeah.
But they're also just rooting around, and what we feed them, like what they don't free range,
yeah.
is all leftovers. That like, lots of it comes from Plymouth State.
Yeah.
The idea is that we're just trying to use food waste. You know, we get the stuff from the grocery store too that isn't being going to a food bank. We'll pick it up. It's instead of going to the landfill. I don't know. I don't know why everybody doesn't work with their animals like this. You know? But it's also really good to eat when you get hungry.
Yeah.
Which is part of it. You know, there is a cycle that we're trying to observe, and we try to be as respectful as possible. These animals are our livelihood.